So the off season has begun and it's time to get ready for high school tryouts. The number one thing you have to do for your baseball or softball tryout is find out the date. In Massachusetts, it's pretty simple. It's always the third Monday in March. So you have to find out on the calendar what date you're training for that tryout. With that being said, most players will go into the off season and use that for their strength and conditioning, a time where they can really try to add some bulk or some muscle, try to get faster, work on their overall athleticism. There's a lot of different ways to do that. When you get to this point in the season where you're a couple months out from tryouts, January, February is when most players are going to really start to hone in on their individual skill training, whether that's pitching or hitting or everything that goes along with what you would want to work on. I think it's important for a pitcher that you always work backwards from that tryout date, meaning if I know I'm going to try out the third Monday in March, let's say that's March 22nd, then I want to set my plan, say, from January 15th. If that gives me 8 or 9 weeks, depending on when I start my throwing, I can map out how many pitches I'm going to throw every week, and I'm going to come up with a plan to know where I want to be when those tryouts start. If I'm a freshman and I'm not sure if I'm going to make the team, then I want to be ready, game ready, day one of those tryouts to be evaluated, because if I don't have a good tryout, I may not even make the team. As you get older, if you're a junior or senior and you have a good idea that you're probably going to make the team, you can definitely try to coordinate with your pitching coach or even your high school coach before the season starts to kind of see where they would like you at for tryouts, meaning a lot of times I'll have a coach, when I'm training a pitcher, I'll say, look, as long as he's at 50 or 60 pitches, I'm fine with that. You have to think of it kind of like training for a marathon. If you're going to train for a marathon, you don't have to run marathons every day, but you have a series of 5, 6, 7 mile increments you would run. Training pitchers especially is very easy when you keep it on a pitch count. If a pitcher were to throw 40 or 50 pitches off the mound every week for 7 or 8 weeks, it would be very easy for him to jump up in his pitch counts. Hitters, it's a little different. You can definitely space out your hitting, or you can do more hitting as it gets closer to tryouts. But it's definitely something you kind of want to have that tryout date as the marquee, not just for your performance, but up here in the Northeast, there can be a very short window between when the tryout ends and the season begins, depending on your program. So most of the time, if a player's not ready for tryouts, or if an aspect of his game isn't ready, or he or she doesn't feel comfortable with that aspect, you may only have a week until you're out and the season has started. So you're going to kind of be playing catch up. So I think it's best to really make sure you have everything ready for that first day, every aspect of your game, your physical condition, your mental condition. You want to have everything ready so that you're not looking back on that tryout date. Now that you've done the baseball and the conditioning part of it, you definitely want to have your checklist getting ready for tryouts. I know in Massachusetts, and I've been to a lot of different high school baseball tryouts, especially helping out, it's like a guest instructor type thing. The first thing that's going to happen is they're going to call that group together, and they're always going to call off 4 or 5 names, and they're going to tell those players, you have to leave tryouts because you didn't get your health form completed. Now that can be different for different schools, and prep schools, and public schools, private schools, but almost every school uses some form of health form. Does that mean you're going to get cut from the team? No, but consider it like strike one. You don't want to start off tryouts by, number one, not being able to try out, but number two, something that's avoidable. And for a lot of players out there watching this can relate. Hopefully it wasn't you, but everyone's been in that situation where players cannot try out until they get that health form. That affects you mentally. Now you're embarrassed. Now you're sent scrambling. Now you're trying to get in an appointment to see a doctor. That's something that should easily be done well in advance. So you definitely want to make sure you have all your health forms in place so that you're able to try out. Academically, especially if you weren't playing another sport, now is the time when either the quarter is ending or progress reports are going to come out. Every school has a certain parameters you have to meet to stay eligible. Now, I would never encourage a player that, to set the bar that low, eligible, not eligible, but that's going to be the reality for some players. I would definitely recommend going to your teachers and finding out, number one, what your grade is probably going to be, and if there's anything that you can do to possibly alter that grade, any extra help. I guess what I'm saying is, don't wait until you have that bad report card or progress report in hand, because there's nothing you can do about it then. Definitely try to be proactive. As far as the equipment and different things you need for your tryout, at least up here in the Northeast, things can historically change, meaning And indoor practice is now outdoors, and outdoor practice is now indoors. So there's no excuse not to have outdoor sweatshirt, even ski hats, turfs and cleats especially. Player may wear flip-flops to school and they know they're going to be practicing outside, and we get some snow or rain. Now we're in the gym. There's that player with flip-flops, doesn't have his turf shoes. So definitely want to have your sneakers and your cleats every day. You want to be prepared for schedule changes. You definitely want to stay updated on that. Especially with new cleats and batting gloves, you're going to see a lot of blisters. So I would always recommend anything you're going to use for that season, batting gloves, turf shoes, cleats especially, get out and wear them, break them in before tryouts. You do not want to start your tryouts and your season with blisters from brand new equipment. If you enjoyed the video, please let us know by leaving a like. If you have a question you'd like answered, please leave it below in the comment section. If you want to catch more of this content, make sure you follow or subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. Thank you. See you next week.